Take interpersonal communication. It'll benefit you in school, work, and future relationships. This is what my dad said to me when I was choosing classes for this semester. This class taught me how to more effectively communicate in so many ways. I learned so much, but the things that stuck out to me the most and I will be discussing in my speech are how culture and gender affect communication, how to be a better listener, and how extreme the influence of emotions is on communication. Culture and gender affect our interpersonal communication in so many ways. According to Corey Floyd, who's the author of our textbook, culture is the system of learned and shared symbols, language, values, and norms that distinguish one group of people from another. In all cultures, the things learned are normally different. Some of the ways cultures differ are individualistic versus collectivistic cultures, low context versus high context cultures, and monochronic versus polychronic cultures. Floyd explains that an individualistic culture emphasizes individuality and responsibility to oneself, while a collectivistic culture places greater emphasis on loyalty to the family, workplace, or community than on the needs of the individuals. For example, I was raised in an individualistic culture where I'm taught to make my own money and to keep it to benefit myself, while someone in a collectivistic culture would think of the money I made as the family's or the community's. In a low-context culture, verbal communication is expected to be explicit and is often interpreted literally, and in a high-context culture, verbal communication is often ambiguous, and meaning is drawn from contextual clues such as facial expressions or tone of voice. For example, I'm from a high-context culture where I may be face-to-face speaking to someone and realize by their expression that they mean the opposite of what they're saying. Someone from a low-context culture would take what I say literally, even if my face is telling a different story. In a monochronic culture, the concept of time is treated as a finite commodity that can be earned, saved, spent, and wasted, while in a polychronic culture, the concept of time is viewed as an infinite resource, not a finite commodity. For example, in a monochronic culture, a meeting set to start at 7 must start at 7 or very close to it, while in a polychronic culture, they would be more lax about the start time of the meeting. You must learn to understand and respect how cultures have been taught, and this will better your communication. Gender also affects interpersonal communication in many ways. One of the main ways is through gender roles. Gender roles are a set of expectations for appropriate behavior that a culture typically assigns to an individual based on his or her biological sex, according to Corey Floyd. I believe this negatively affects our communication because we think we need to follow them to a T. We try to act how our gender roles suggest even if that isn't who we are. This course also taught me that effective listening is a very important way to be sure your relationships are healthy. Floyd states that listening is the active process of making meaning out of another person's spoken message. To listen effectively, you must listen actively, informatively, and critically. You must also try to follow the Hurrier model when listening. Hurrier stands for hearing, understanding, remembering, interpreting, evaluating, and responding. By following these 6 steps, you will be a better listener and improve your relationships. Finally, I learned how emotions extremely affect communication. Floyd states that emotions are the body's multidimensional response to any event that enhances or inhibits one goal. There are so many emotions, and showing them while communicating helps the other person to better understand how you're truly feeling. While communicating, be sure that you do your best to show your emotions, even if you're afraid to. There are many important things that this course taught me about interpersonal communications and its effect on my relationships. However, things that stuck out to me the most were the effects of culture, gender, and emotions, and how to be a better listener and improve your relationships. Remember, interpersonal communications is way more important than you may realize, and taking a course about it will help you communicate in all relationships for the rest of your life.